Bliss Love, Rissa Vibes here, aka Readings by Rissa. So excited to connect with you as always. Rissa Vibes, aka Readings by Rissa, in case I got cut off with the live. Just super excited to connect with you as always. Today, January 24th to January 31st, is the energy that we're covering, and I am super excited to jump right in. We've got a lot to cover. We have a full moon in Leo this week on Thursday night, and lots to talk about in that regard. So as you settle in, as you join here live, get nice and comfortable and relaxed. Breathe deeply, get into your center, and join me for this Sunday brand new weekly reading. Let me know how all of you are feeling. Let me know who's joining, where you're joining from. Let me know how the energy is feeling for you already as we enter this week. And of course, we will start with a little review of the cards last week before we jump into the messages this week. So last week we pulled the cleanse card at the beginning of the week, encouraging us to start to cleanse our body, our mind, and spirit of any toxins or energy that just wasn't serving our full expansion and our purest positive potential. Then in the middle of the week, we had the enchantment card, letting us know that that is how we activate our magic. Through that cleansing of our energy, we start to activate more access to our magic, okay? The enchantment, and to make sure to pay attention to the magic in the middle of last week. Then at the end of the week, which we're still feeling right now, we have the ecstasy card, really celebrating the joy and happiness and pleasures of life, and really allowing yourselves to notice where you're not celebrating that, where you're not feeling ecstasy, so that you can lean into more of that vibration with love, appreciation, and bliss in all that you experience in this life, okay? So that was the review of last week's cards. Let me know how that energy expressed itself for you in your own personal journey, in your own personal path. But let's go ahead and jump right into the weekly messages for this week coming up. Again, January 24th, which is today, all the way to January 31st, 2021. And we are going to end this month out with this week. And so this is the end of the first month of 2021. So pretty big deal. Nice to reflect on how the first month of 2021 went for you. So this is a really good opportunity for that, which we'll talk a little bit about for the full moon energy. But let's go ahead and start with the spirit messages of this week's energy. These are the messages that I receive as a professional intuitive through my downloads, meditations, readings of the Mass Collective, and personal readings that I do for clients throughout the week. So this is going to really give you a nice full spectrum view of all the energy that I'm picking up on for this week ahead, okay? So the first message for this week is inner child healing. We are all being called to really connect to our inner child in a lot of different ways. I know for me personally, I have been getting a lot of spiritual assignments from my guides to reflect back to my childhood, to understand specifically the fears that we've clung to in our childhood that we still express as adults today. So really recognizing what fears are holding you back from your growth, from your expansion. What fears were created and rooted in your childhood that still affect you today? And how can you start to pull away from the attachment you have to those fears and the ways that they have held their grip onto your life since? This is really big. This is important. So ask yourself, what scares me, right? What scares you? Ask yourself, what fears hold you back, and what feels like fright and anxiety and dread that keeps plaguing you in your life. And what programming did you sign on to or adopt that reflects those fears or feeds those fears even now into your adulthood? Because this is where the mental transformation wants to happen this week. The mental transformation of our own ability to change our perspectives, shift our opinions, shift the way we view our childhood, the way we feel ourselves internally connected to our inner child, and the way we allow those connections to express throughout our life and throughout our experience. So really get into that inner child healing and know that if you started to feel more triggered in childhood memories or childhood fears or childhood programming, perspectives and opinions, judgments that you were kind of, succumbed to in your childhood. If those things are starting to surface and memories of those things are starting to surface, this is your opportunity to really look at that with a fine scope and start to consciously understand what is there for you to clear or for you to shift so that you can feel more expanded in your true connections to your inner child. And the way you can use that inner child energy, like creativity, curiosity, adventurousness, playfulness in your adulthood, okay? Because we really, really, really can use that for magic and manifestation. But if the inner child is troubled, traumatized, and insecure, then it can cause some serious blockages in our ability to manifest through our magic and our essence, okay? So pay attention to the inner child healing and the mental transformation needed to create that inner child healing. Now, the next message is all about our ability to use our spiritual sovereignty in that mental transformation. So we're going to take it a little bit wider scope from just the internal awareness of our mental transformation, and we're going to expand it into our awareness of mental transformation as a mass collective. And a lot of what I was receiving from my spirit guides on this is that we're starting to step into our spiritual sovereignty as a mass collective, which means that we've already started to do that on a personal level as well. Everybody's at a different stage in that, so wherever you're at is totally fine. But essentially, we want to pay attention to the way in which we are starting to really claim our truth, really claim our intuition, really claim our wisdom from our spiritual journey, and allow that to help us feel confident and courageous to lead our lives the way we want to lead them based on our spiritual growth and understanding, okay? That is spiritual sovereignty. So notice how your mental transformations can help solidify your spiritual sovereignty, or maybe where your spiritual sovereignty is calling you to transform your mind, transform your perspectives, transform the way that you understand things. Maybe introduce more information, more research of your own on certain things that maybe you haven't researched before, but you feel intuitively called to dive deeper into. This is how we claim that spiritual sovereignty, that power, okay, that confidence, that courage, and that leadership. And that's why I titled this reading that, because it's super, super potent in the energy this week, all right? Now, a part of the things that are being triggered on a mass collective in regards to the inner child fears, but also just fears in general and panic in general for the mass collective this week, is the energy of scarcity. I feel like there's a scarcity fear starting to bubble that has already been presented itself last summer with the scarcity in, cleaning products and hand sanitizer and soap and toilet paper, right, during the first round of quarantine. Now, we saw how that scarcity fear affected the mass collective and affected our own personal lives and own personal feelings. And we want to make sure that if we start to see more scarcity show up moving forward very soon in different ways, like scarcity of the vaccine or scarcity of different resources or scarcity of different services or care, or other things, we want to make sure that we don't panic, that we stay calm, that we observe, and that we understand that it's okay, and that we don't have to react to the primal fears of scarcity or that scarcity creates. We can actually tap into our intuition and understand what is really necessary for us to have and what really isn't, and making sure we don't overconsume or create greed or just panic and contrast and conflict over a fear of scarcity that may not actually be very valid, but that may be caused or manipulated by other things that are trying to control the paradigm, right? So we want to pay attention to that stuff. We want to be calm. We want to be observant. So this is a mass collective, very common fear, scarcity. And it's starting to expose our attachments to things that we don't really need, or our attachments to having more than what we need, okay? And this is really important because this is part of the mass collective shadow work. Think about it. We've lived in a very greedy society, especially in the Western world, for a very long time. This need to over-consume, to over-collect, to hoard, and to be greedy and to not share, right? And so a lot of these fears of scarcity are based in an attachment to the shadow aspect of that, the shadow aspect of our mass collective that is more focused on hoarding and being greedy. Okay, so we're being brought to judgment of that by the universe. We're being called to really face that shadow, face that flaw as the mass collective, and start to shift the dynamic by starting to rebalance and to change our perspectives, to change our needs, and to start to live more frugally and more consciously and more generously for everybody to have what they need. Right? So notice how your attachments to things are being expressed this week and how they may be challenged or tested through that fear of scarcity in any way that it shows up in your life or in the mass collective. And there is more of that scarcity to come in different ways. So be prepared. Don't start to get, in a panic mode. Don't overconsume. But if you don't have, your basic needs, make sure you start to put that as a priority so that you're prepared if that scarcity does hit in any way. Okay. And it's all about our reactions, our response. Remember, not to react through anxiety and intensity. React gives that sense of explosion and implosion. But when you respond, it gives you a sense of grounded, centered, balanced response, wise response, thought out and conscious. Okay, so we want to respond, not react to things. All right, so the next aspect of this is stepping into your leadership, your courage, and your power this week. We have a full moon in Leo. We have a lot of 8 synchronicities with the numbers this week as well. We've just got a lot of energy to focus on. And there's this need for us to use that Leo energy to step into our powerful self and to really stand firm in not letting manipulations or media or other people's strong opinions or pressures, peer pressures to conform, not letting that actually make us conform, because we're leaders in light. And if we're using our intuition and we know what's true to us, whether it's different than somebody else's truth or not, we need to feel sovereign in our spiritual journey. We need to feel sovereign in our ability to choose for ourselves. We need to feel sovereign in our own alignment to our true essence and to our truth. Remember, the card for January for 2021 is truth and integrity. And so we're really stepping into that truth and the follow through with our truth. And that's where that spiritual sovereignty comes in. And that's where we're being called to step up in leadership, to step up in courage, and to step up in power of our representation of who we are. Now, this does not mean to force other people into your perspectives, because that's doing the exact opposite of what we're talking about. We don't want to be forced by other people to adopt a certain perspective and then choose our own perspective and then force other people to choose that perspective. That's being very hypocritical, right? We don't want to do that. So we want to actually lead by example, lead in the ways that we know are best for us, by living in the ways that we know are best for us, by embodying the truth that we know is most true for us, and letting that type of example be the leader, be the way in which we show people how to step into their own spiritual sovereignty, knowing that their spiritual sovereignty doesn't have to be the same as ours. But as long as they're stepping into their own, then we're starting to shift the dynamic of attachments to sovereignty or giving our power away to outside influences. Okay, so ultimately, it's best to just step into your own spiritual sovereignty, let others do that as well, to not judge what that looks like, but instead just be grateful that people are starting to make their own minds up about things. Even if what you think they're making their mind up about is not really true or accurate or the best, at least they're starting to choose to make their mind up instead of letting others make their mind up for them. And if they're still in that place of, complete conformity and programming, then let them have that. Let them figure it out for themselves. Open the door, give them the opportunity to walk through it by giving them different opportunities to see new perspectives. But if they're not ready for that or they're not open to that, don't force it. Lead by example. Don't lead in dictatorship or in force, okay? And have the courage to still stand strong in what you know is true, despite any external influences or pushback from others, okay? This is your power. And ask yourself, how are you called to lead this week? Maybe you're called to lead by just stepping into more of your intuition and sharing more of that with others as you receive it. Maybe you're called to lead by sharing your own story with some people that you know are younger than you that may really benefit from your perspective and wisdom. Or, vice versa, older than you, right, that may benefit. Maybe you're called to lead by stepping more into your gifts, into your talents, into your sense of humor, into your expression, into your creativity. Okay, just ask yourself how you're being called to lead today and this week, and step into it gradually and enjoy the courage and power of that. But don't overdo it by creating too much pressure on others to fall into your leadership category. Okay. So the next thing is about looking at things from a bigger picture perspective. You want to see the full view of things this week. Don't get caught in the storms. There's so much information circulating, so many other people's opinions, so much drama circulating, and it's causing a lot of storm. It's causing a storm energetically. And we want to not get swept up in that. We want to instead observe it. We want to stay calm, and we want to just look at it with conscious awareness, with intuition, without reacting, but instead responding to what is most important to us to pay attention to. Okay. So stay calm and stay alert, right? We want to be kind of the hawk in the tree. We want to look at everything, all the moving parts, and we want to understand, where these things are going and what really is being done here. Do your own research as you look from that bigger picture perspective. Do your own research on the vaccine. Do your own research on disclosure of what's going on surrounding that. Do your own research on the progression of the pandemic and how it's shifting now. Do your own research on the government systems, the history of that and how it's shifting now. The economic system, the history of that and how it's shifting now, the patterns of that in history and how it may be repeating itself, right? We want to do this research and we want to pay attention to it. And we also want to look at it from an intuitive perspective and a strategic and aware perspective, meaning ask yourself who's benefiting from the way things are and why? Who's benefiting from suffering of people and why? And who's benefiting from the manipulation of people and why? And start to look at that, because that will start to help you to see beyond the veil of deception and deceit that is starting to be disclosed slowly in our time right now in history. And we're going to see that continue to build momentum, that disclosure and that unveiling occurring. Okay, so look at it from the bigger picture perspective. See it like the hawk in the tree. Don't get caught in the storm, and don't let the many opinions, emotions, confusions, judgments get in the way of your own sovereign understanding of spiritual growth and your path and your truth and your follow through of it. Because there's a lot of egoic control out there. There's a lot of egoic control. And this really is that duality that I've been talking about, the separation between what's real and what's fake, what's authentic and what's inauthentic. And we're seeing the worlds being pulled apart. We're seeing the diversity and the duality in that. And though that duality can sometimes pull us down in separation, it can also sometimes be very necessary for us to realize and see it so clearly that we start to do something about it. And that ultimately we start to also all see it from a bigger perspective because it's so extreme and in our face. And then we start to find unity again because of that, right? Because we find a solution, because we find an understanding, because we find a unveiling of our intuitive direction in it, okay? So this is powerful. And the egoic control that I'm talking about is also present in the spiritualist community. I really want to make sure you all are aware of that. A lot of the big spiritual voices, big spiritual leaders, pay attention to these people. How are they benefiting and why? Are they telling the truth? Are they giving positive and powerful and positively influential messages? Or are their messages peppered with some other agendas or some other manipulations or some other false truths or false lights? Okay, remember I talked about the false idols falling over the last couple of weeks. It's going to continue to happen throughout the entire year. And we're going to see that not just in the big scheme of things where false idols and systems, like I talked about the other week, are happening, but also false idols that represent those systems and represent certain opinions and are really forcing agendas or becoming the spokespeople for manipulation and deceit. Okay, and that includes people in the spiritual community. And these are people that are sometimes hired to do this or paid to do this or programmed to do this, but this is also sometimes people that are just more egoic and want to control and see the opportunity to control a mass collective of minds and opinions. And so they use their own ego to fuel their own message, their own agenda, their own perspective. And they really just get off on seeing other people agree with them. And that is dangerous, because if it's something that is not really true to the benefit of humanity or true to what's really going on, it causes confusion and it causes distraction from what's actually in alignment. And so you can really tell the difference when somebody's forcing an opinion on you or forcing a perspective or really saying this is definitely how it is and that nothing's going to change it and blah, blah, blah. Because that is an ego energy, because we really don't know. None of us really know what's going to happen tomorrow. We might be able to intuit some of it. We might be able to pick up on some of the energies. We might be able to feel some of that transformation, but none of us really know the specifics. And so if we start to say that, or you start to hear other spiritualists say that, then it seems like they're going off track. They're going off of their intuition and into more ego. Okay. And a lot of spiritual leaders I've been seeing doing this and really getting a lot of popular growth and expansion in numbers on their streams and on their views and all of that. And it's a little concerning because I'm seeing a lot more people following these people, and these people are really just not really true to what they're preaching, it seems. And this is gonna show up in extremes as this continues to evolve. At least that's what I feel. So feel into it for yourself. Notice it for yourself. Follow your own truth. Let your intuition be the guide. Let your intuition be your best survival skill, because I'm always the one that's telling you to use your own intuition, develop your own intuition, because that's what's going to get you to where you need to be most. Of course, I can help as a guide, as an intuitive, but I help for the sake of teaching you how to do it yourself, because that is the real power. That's the sovereign spiritual power that I'm really wanting for all of you and for all of us in humanity. So go for that and do the necessary work, research, and observations to get to that point. Okay. All right. So those are all of my spiritual side of messages, my spirit messages. Let's talk a little bit about the astrology. How are all of you doing? I see Candace here, Kevin here, Nikki here, Natalie here. So good to see all of you. Yes. What is that? Whole Scorpio. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, so let's go into the astrology. We have a full moon in Leo this week, but before we tap into that, let's talk a little bit about the 26th. The 26th is a number 14 numerology, and then the 26th, actually the day, turns into an 8. I thought this was important because 14 is courage and confidence, and the number 8 is leadership, so it's starting to preface that energy of the full moon in Leo. And it is important to also notice that 14 does reduce to 5, which is the numerological value of 2021, the year. And 5 represents sudden changes, progressive movement for growth, and sparks of new experience. Okay, so unexpected energy. Now, the important thing to make sure that you remember about that is that you use your intuition for the entire year with that number 5 energy, and also for the 26th. Okay, use your intuition to step into confidence and courage on that day. Then on the 28th, we are experiencing our Leo full moon, and it is in beautiful, beautiful energy. We've got the sun conjunct Jupiter, 9 degrees that day. The sun is also officially in Aquarius, so we feel that energy of the Aquarian sign also influencing us right now, that energy of unique expression, innovation, freedom, liberation through unexpected experiences and change, necessary change. And so we really want to appreciate the way in which we're expanding this week with that Leo full moon. The full moon is going to help us to step into more joy in our expansion, more abundance through our expansion, more generosity and the ability to receive generosity and also to give generously. And this energy of kindness and gratitude being directly linked to our abundance. The more we're kind and the more we're grateful of our experience, and through our experience, the more abundance and expansion we're going to manifest this week with that Leo full moon on Thursday night, okay? Now, a couple of characteristics of the Leo energy that I want to highlight, because the Leo energy is going to be influencing us all in our own ways, is that the Leo light side of things is really playful. They like to put on a show. They're stylish, they're expressive, they're generous. And so this is that energy of full confidence and expression, full confidence and courage, and the ability to be truly you and to express that and to enjoy the performance of that. So that can be a really fun energy for us all to experience in our own way and to use throughout this week to step into more of our leadership, courage, and power. But then we also want to pay attention to the shadow sides of the Leo as well, which can sometimes express itself in a ferocious nature, in a aggressive or expressive, overly expressive way, in a dramatic way, or an overly egoic way. So we want to pay attention to any ways that that may be expressing itself in a shadow way of the Leo sign throughout the week within us, okay? So pay attention to that as well. Don't let that shadow side of the Leo get in the way of the light side of the Leo influences with that full moon on the 28th. And I will be going live with my love at 7 p.m. Central Time on my Instagram for a moon talk on the Leo full moon Thursday night. So join me on my Instagram at Readings by Rissa for a deep, conscious conversation about the moon and its influences on the night of the moon, the 28th, 7 p.m. Central Time, okay? So that'll be really, really fun for us all to connect and dive deeper into the moon energy, maybe pull some cards, answer some questions, and really vibe with the full moon in Leo. And then on the 30th of January, when we'll be meeting again for another weekly reading, we have the first Mercury retrograde of 2021 starting on that day, and it is in Aquarius. So really helping us to go inward and understand ourselves more and our unique expression and quality, and learning how to communicate our freedom of speech, our freedom of expression, our liberation in our true, honest awareness of the expression in the world. And also to understand the way we all are interconnected in communication and expression, and how we will all awaken from that gradually as we tap more into that Aquarius energy. So this is going to be a good Mercury retrograde. It is going to call us to go inward. It is going to call us to be very aware of the unique ways we're being called to express ourselves differently. And that may cause a little bit of, adapting between you and different people in your communication styles, which we always expect for the Mercury retrograde. So just start to prep yourself for that now, because that'll be happening on Sunday. All right. Let me know how all of you are feeling from that astrological aspect of the reading. Let's go ahead and end things out with a nice card pull for the week. Let me know, what you're feeling, what you're experiencing as we prepare for this week to come. There's so much there. Are you ready? Do you feel yourself stepping into more of that leadership? Oh, this card was flipped over. Do you feel yourself stepping into more of that leadership? Do you feel yourself more courageous in your expression uniquely? How are you doing with your shadow work? Remember, that's a big one still this whole year. And I did post my shadow work live, all about taming your triggers, on my OnlyFans. So the replay is available on my OnlyFans for that. It was a really great hour-long lecture and kind of, casual powwow, where I was talking about taming your triggers and giving you some really good constructive practices on how to tame your triggers so that you can start to do that in your shadow work this year and this month. So definitely go check my OnlyFans. The link is in the description of this video and all the previous weekly readings recently. And then I also posted the New Year Cacao Ceremony replay on my OnlyFans last week as well. So if you want to set your intentions really deeply for the new year, and you really want a nice meditation and visualization for that, and a nice lecture on how to step into the work that you need to do for this year, and how to recognize the work you need to do for this year to get you to where you want to be, that event is going to be really, really powerful for you to watch the replay of. And that is also, like I said, available on my OnlyFans page. Okay. Lots of events that I'll be hosting from this point forward will be aired and premiered on my OnlyFans. It's a uncensored platform. I don't feel like there's algorithms trying to hold my content back like I have felt from Instagram lately, and even YouTube sometimes. So I will be making that transition because I really feel like the way of the world right now is transforming into a less censored opportunity for us to express, and that is the Aquarian energy showing up. So we want to move with that. We want to align with that. So definitely sign up for my OnlyFans so you can see those replays of those events and a lot of future content from me as well. Okay. All right, everybody. First card of the week is the Lovers card. I am so excited that this card came up because this is that expansion of joy and pleasure and bliss and creativity. Creativity in a sense of being able to create through the connection of the divine masculine and divine feminine, whether that's in a soulmate or a romantic relationship, or whether it's just joining the masculine and feminine essence of your being to create something beautiful in the intention of love and light expression. But there's a lot of power in creation between the lovers and the divine masculine, divine feminine connection. So use that in the beginning of the week and tap into that, reflect on that, deepen that connection if you're feeling called to. The next card for the middle of the week is stand your ground. Stand your ground. Really stand firm. This is where that leadership comes in, where you're really standing firm in what you know to be true, your truth and integrity for January for the 2021 yearly annual reading. So honoring your truth, standing firm in it, grounding in it, following through with it. And it says, standing your ground is an empowering, confidence-building action to take from time to time. Now is the moment when you will need to stand your ground. You know you can do it. And you know that by doing so, you will be the victor. So there's success and abundance in standing your ground and knowing your truth and following through with it in the middle of the week, okay? And then the end of the week for the full moon energy, and I'm actually going to pull another card for the full moon, but the end of the week is the sorrow card. Now, I don't want you to freak out and think that this means that bad things are going to happen. It doesn't. You may have a little more sorrow. I'm not saying that that might not be present, but if you do, it's a chance for you, an opportunity for you to recognize maybe some of those fears that sorrow is embedded in, maybe some of the ways that you've allowed yourself to program yourself into being consumed by anything that seems sad or difficult to deal with. And this is an opportunity for you to recognize your power, to step into more of your playfulness with that energy and your reflection and observance of it so that you can transform your mind around that sorrow into something that's more appealing for you to perceive it as, something that feels better, something that is more in alignment to the true essence of love and light. Because even when things happen that are really sad for us or really difficult for us or even traumatic for us, there's always an opportunity to see it from a place of wisdom and understanding. How does this help me grow? How does this help me help others grow? How can my experience bring light in another way, even if it was a less than light experience, okay? And so learning how to deal with sorrow from a perspective of leadership and transmutation and transformation. Let's pull a quick card for the moon, just to have that for the Leo full moon. And really, again, doing that inner child healing at the end of the week with that sorrow card as well. What is being triggered by any sorrow you may feel or any sorrow you may be exposed to. Maybe somebody else's sorrow triggers you and causes some awareness there, some wisdom. All right, then the full moon in Leo card is home. Home, and I love this card. Beautiful sage-like woman in the water. So, so beautiful. And it says, may your body be where a harmonious balance of love, strength, light, and pleasure lives. So remembering your body is your home. Your body is your home. So stepping into that energy of appreciating the way your body holds your spirit, holds your mind, holds your emotions, the way that you can harbor love and strength and light and pleasure into your body and into your life as a result of it, not letting those external influences affect your internal peace and love and power and your spiritual sovereignty. Okay. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Lovers in the beginning of the week. Then we have Stand Your Ground in the middle of the week. We've got the Sorrow card at the end of the week to help us understand the effects of sorrow in our life so that we can harbor more love, strength, and light within the home of our energy, which is our body, which is our experience here on this planet here and now. Okay? Love you all so much. Let me know how this reading resonated with you. Feel free to send over a donation via the description links in the reading link or via the super chat option. Super excited to have all of you join me today. Thank you again for your love, your support, and your constant consistency in showing up to this Web of Light community we're creating. I've got a lot of exciting new things to promote and to share with you this week. So be on the lookout for that. I'm going to be launching some really cool things, probably the end of this week, maybe the beginning of next week. So be on the lookout for that. And I will talk to you all soon. I love you so much. Peace. And I'll see you Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Time on my Instagram for a moon talk with my love. I'll see you then. Bye.